too. What's going on? This preacher. So, truck drivers, do we really have to approach another trucker in a rude way? Really? Do we really have to do that? I just watched the video where another trucker was behind a trucker in the fuel line. That wasn't fueling. At the time that he was behind them, there was no truck in front of them, right? So he went up to the truck and nobody was in the truck. As he started to walk back to his truck, he seen the truck owner and the lady that the truck owner was with. They was walking their dogs. One dog was a real big dog. The other one was like a mid-sized dog. So he approaching the people all aggressively. Now, anybody with animals, especially dogs, know if somebody is approaching their owner and screaming and yelling at them, being aggressive, the dog senses that, and the dog is going to start barking. The guy is holding his dog, even though the dog is jumping up, the guy is holding his dog with two hands by the collar, keeping him down. The guy got scared and started to reach for his gun. Now, I'm going to assume he was a concealed carry holder because he had it concealed. And because the dog started barking and getting up, but the guy was holding the dog back and the lady was holding the dog back, he decided to reach for his gun. Now, my problem with that is, because I'm a concealed carrier myself, everybody had to take the course. If you are the aggressor in any kind of way, you cannot claim self-defense if you pull your gun out. You can't claim self-defense. If you initiated the problem, you can't then turn around and pull your gun out and say you was in fear for your life or great bodily harm, because you was the aggressor. So I'm only talking to concealed carriers, truckers that are out here now. That's all. The only thing I'm talking about is the concealed carrier trucker. You have to learn how to approach another truck driver in a better way when you are a concealed carrier. Because now, my issue with that is, I don't know if the police came, the video had ended, but the lady was like, call the police, call the police. You see he pulled the gun, call the police, right? And that was the end of the video, so I don't know. But as a concealed carrier, permit holder, you cannot be the aggressor. You can't think like you are not carrying a gun. Now you finna go up there and talk to a trucker, get in an altercation because you mad about you had to wait behind them and they holding up the fuel aisle. You know, you on that stereotype that's out there that we have to approach every single trucker and just start cussing them out because they're not fueling. And sometimes you don't know the real reason why they're not fueling. For instance, I go inside and pay a lot of times on these pumps because of the card skimmers and everything that is out there, and I have been a victim of somebody cloning my card and then using my fuel cards and leaving me responsible for all this and stuff, right? So I'd rather go inside and pay and make sure that way, so that way I don't have that to worry about, right? So when I went inside and pay, I'm like, well, if I got to use the restroom, pee or whatever, I'm finna go ahead and pee first. Then I'm gonna pay for my fuel. Then I'm gonna come out there and fuel it. And then I done had 2 occasions where drivers would come up to me, you're not even fueling. Why are you going up in there? I see you didn't refill your soda. You couldn't pull up. I said, actually, I just had to pay for my fuel. And if you look at the pump right now, before I even get to it, what does it say? Oh, my bad, man. I said, exactly. I went in there to pay for my fuel while I was there. I'm like, I'm not finna go back in there. I might as well go ahead and get my drink now while I'm paying for my fuel so I can just fuel and go. Or if I had to pee, I'm finna go pee. If I got to take a poo-poo, I'm finna go take a poo-poo. I can care less who behind me because I bought the poop on myself. So if I get to the fuel line and I can't hold it, I'm going to go. Period. Sometimes we get on that thing where somebody just in there doing it, being inconsiderate as a truck driver, but sometimes that's not always the case. And I know other truckers know that. I know other truckers know that you finish fueling and the guy in front of you is done, and now you didn't waited about 4 or 5 minutes and that guy haven't moved, but you've been holding your pee and stuff. So now you finna get out your truck and you just finna run up in there. But by that time, somebody done pulled up behind you. The truck driver in front of you then left. Now the person behind you thinking you just sitting inside the pump doing nothing. We all been there. So it's like, okay, if you out here in this trucking industry, you know things like that happens. You don't know what these truckers have on them as well. Sometimes you got to be the one to escalate the situation, because if a trucker come up to you all mad, but hey, man, listen, I'm sorry, I finna get in my truck, I finna go. You know, and get in your truck and go. Now, if the guy persists, that's when you can become defensive now. But we have to learn how to approach truckers not in a mean way all the time. You know, because you're doing this in a mean way, the trucker can take offense to that. But here, this guy is approaching somebody with big dogs, and you on the side to go ahead and give him a piece of your mind because you behind them and they didn't leave. Sometimes when that happens, if another lane opens up, I just back up and go into another lane. And I just keep it moving. Why do we feel like, okay, that we can't move our truck to another lane sometimes if you're in that much of a hurry? He going up and talking to these people with these big old dogs, and they coming back to their truck. Now, if they coming back to their truck, obviously they're finna get ready to move, right? So why you be like, okay, man, I just was checking to see what's in there. It seemed like it was taking a long time. You know, you really shouldn't be walking your dogs like that. You know, if you got to walk your dogs too, you know, why don't you go ahead and just park, walk your dogs, then go fuel up. You know, and then you could say it just like that, not in a mean way. But if you come in all aggressive and you point your hand in somebody's face and they got these big animals, what you think the animal's gonna do? And now you gonna get all scared because now the animals is doing this and the person is of another race than you. And now you all scared, now you ready to pull your guns. But you was the aggressor. You started the situation. You cannot start nothing. A concealed carrier is for a defensive purpose. It's not for an offensive purpose. So you can't go on offense and now you start something, so now you ready to go on defense. Everybody remember the George Zimmerman thing. He started the problem, and then when the kids started to get the better of him, that's when he ready to shoot and kill the person, but he's the one started the problem. Even when the police told him, do not approach him, don't talk to him, don't do this, he started the problem. So they changed these laws. So now, as a concealed carry permit holder, we cannot be the one to go on the offense. We always got to be a defensive minded person. You always got to be a defensive minded person. Just because you're carrying a gun with you, it does not mean that, okay, I'm just going to tell somebody off, and if they do something, I hold on to my gun now. Well, you was the offensive person. Because if you starting to pull your weapon, he can sick those dogs on you, because now you came up to him arguing at him, and now the dog finna go ahead and get you, because the dog can use for a defensive purpose too. You are the aggressor. Yeah, he can sick his dog on you if he's starting to feel threatened because you approached them, is what you did. You approached them, starting stuff with them. So now if he feel like he's threatened and you doing offensive posturing, like you trying to do something, he can sick the dog on you. What about that? Or what about if you call yourself walking up to somebody and they trying to be like, all right, man, and you keep going and going, you all in their face, and then now y'all getting a verbal altercation, and now you getting scared, and now you get ready to pull your gun, it could be a quick draw like it was back in the days. What if the person that you arguing at is a concealed carrier permit holder too, right? And now you starting to go for your gun, and he went real slow, y'all. He did go real slow too. I would have had my gun out and 3 in his chest before he even pulled his gun out. That's just how slow he went with it, you know. So if you going up against another person who got a concealed carry and you grabbing your gun, well, guess what he's going to do? He's going to pull out his gun. And when he pull out his gun, he maybe put out his gun to shoot, not to intimidate. So you can mess with the right one. And especially if the people is training, If the people is training and training on like I do, I go to the gun range and I train on removing my gun from my holster real fast and shooting and getting the shot on target. I do that all the time. All the time, I always pull my gun out fast and shoot. So I work on getting my gun out fast out my holster, getting the gun out fast out my holster, and putting shots on target. I work on that. Now, if you just carrying your gun and you really don't work on all that, yeah, it's gonna take you a minute to get your gun out. But I may have my gun out a lot faster than what you have your gun out. And now you dead because you started the situation. And then the video gonna show you went for your gun, you approached them, you arguing with them, putting your hands in their face, and then you got mad because the dog started to do this. He trying to hold his dog back. The dog just trying to protect his owner. And then you go for a gun. He could have let that dog go. That dog would have got on you before you even got your gun. And then he could have got his gun out and ended your life. And now your family all mad at them because they done shot and killed you. Because I'm going to be honest with y'all, man. I'm sorry for the ones who didn't watch this video this long because I'm finna get ready to say this. I'm finna be honest with you. If I pull my gun out, I'm pulling my gun out to shoot you. Period. If it come out the holster, you better hope everything is on video and on audio, because it's going to be one story going to be told to the officer, and that's going to be my story, because you ain't going to be alive to tell your story, and I'm going to make sure you is not alive to tell your story. So if my gun got to come out my holster, you going down. And the only way you going to survive is by the good Lord Jesus said it's not your time. Because you better believe me, I'm giving you 4 to the chest and 1 to the head. Period. 4 to the chest and 1 to the head. It's just gonna happen like that. So be careful what you're doing as a concealed carrier permit holder with decent guns. That don't make you right on every situation. When you get wrong by what you did, now you're ready to pull out your gun, because you may pull out your gun on the right one, and then that day you're gonna learn. You grab a hold to your gun, but you starting to get the situation. That don't make no sense.